Today we start Yud Zayin on the base, 17b, right in the middle of the page, a little above the middle. Amar Mar, Master taught. We have to go back to a discussion we had before to understand this Amar Mar. Amar Mar is re-quoting a machlekes, or a discussion of Tanoim. We got into this discussion because we had a discussion between Reb Meir and Reb Yossi regarding burning chametz. That's in the 6th hour, which is the time for burning chametz, when it's truma, and one of them is tamei and one of them is tar. Can you burn them together? Where Reb Meir said yes and Reb Yossi said no. Now, in that discussion, they were learning it from possibly Rabbi Chanina Skanakainim that said you're allowed to burn 2 levels of tumah together, even though it's increasing the tumah. So in that discussion, we quoted Rabbi Yirmiyah. He said it's Rabbi Yosef goes according to his reasoning, Rabbi Meir goes according to his reasoning. And we brought in this brisa that says that if liquid is a suffix, if it became tamei. So Rabbi Meir held that it's considered tamei. But if it's a suffix, if it made other things tamei, Rabbi Meir says it's tar. Because to make tumah, that's only a derabanan. Mashkin can't make anything else tamei midaraisa. And we said Rabbi Lazar held like that also, and that was a discussion. Rabbi Yehuda says lakol tamei, that not only for food, if it touches food will it become tamei, but even if it touches kalim, or it's a suffix if it touches kalim, it's also tamei if liquid touches kalim, because liquid being metama others is minatayra, and a suffix deraisa is l'chumra. Liquid that touches kalim is metam and mentam. That's what we learned before. So Amar Mar, we're going back to discuss this. We'll see. It's not going to come out as Rabbi Yehuda Shita, even though that's what it says. We'll see how this works. Amar Mar, Rabbi Yehuda Imer, lakol tamei. Rabbi Yehuda says that it's tamei for everything. That means that if it's a doubt, if liquid touched whether food or kalim, it's going to be tamei, because suffix deraisa l'chumra. We said b'shas hayachid, of course. Okay, l'meimra. This means to say, the Savar Rabbi Yehuda tumas mashkin l'tamei. I have to take out a word over here. The Savar Rabbi Yehuda tumas mashkin l'tamei kalim deraisa. You take out the word tumas. I have it. Okay, that means that Rabbi Yehuda holds that impure liquids will make kalim tamei midiraisa. V'atanan, but how could you say that? We have a Mishnah. Yeah. Yeah, it's tamei for everything.
What is tamei for everything?
Yeah. It's talking about the doubt. Mashkin will be. Notice in every situation that mashkin is a doubt if it's what it touched, it's going to be tamei. The din is tamei.
Is the mashkin tamei?
The mashkin is for sure tamei.
So the
question is
for sure.
Yeah. The question is if it touched other things. So some of the Tanaim said it depends what it touched. If it touched eichel, then it's tamei. If it touched kalim, then it's not tamei. Rabbi Yehuda says lakol tamei.
Okay. Because of that, it's
so now, how can mashkin make kalim tamei? So we're saying that it must be a deraisa. So we said, but it's impossible for mashkin to make kalim tamei mideraisa. Why? Vatanan. Rishas switches this to Vahatanya. We start in a brisa rather than a Mishnah. Kol kalim sheish lemacharayim v'tayich. All vessels that have an exterior and an interior, an outside and an inside, a receptacle basically. Any vessel that has a receptacle, that has an inside. Kigoyin akarim v'aksasis. Usually it's pillows and blankets. I don't know what blankets have an inside for. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Okay. Some type of cushion probably. V'asakin, sack that has an inside clearly. Armatufin is a leather type of sack. Nitma toichai nitma gabay. If it became tamei because something touched the inside of the keli, then the entire keli is tamei. Nitma gabay. Let's say the outside of the keli was touched, but not the inside. Lo nitma toichai. Then the inside it doesn't become tamei. It's only tamei on the outside. Now, hold on a moment just to see what this is referring to, because there's a detail here that needs to be added in. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, when do we say this? That there's a distinction between if the tumah touched the outside of the keli or the inside. Usually it touches something there, the thing is tamei. It's not, half of it is tamei, and then what do? You divide the material of the wall. So how does that work? He says, when do we say this? That's shenitmu machmas mashkin. That's if the outside of the keli became tamei with liquid that was tamei. Why? Because liquid that's tamei is not really tamei. It can't really give off tumah to a keli. And who's saying this? Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is saying that liquid can't give tumah to a keli. But there is a tumah midirabanan. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a distinction. By a tumah midirabanan, we're going to say that you should know it's only a tumah midirabanan. So in order that you shouldn't think that it's a tumah midiraisa and you're going to end up burning truma because you think it's tamei, it's not really tamei. It's just the gezeira midirabanan that is tamei. So we want to let you know that by telling you that the outside is tamei, but not the inside is tamei. When do we say that there's this distinction between the outside and the inside? That's a way of letting you know that this tumah is only a tumah midirabanan. Tumah masmash. Yeah, and this contradicts what Rabbi Yehuda just said. Lakol tamei, that tumah mashkin is metamakelim minatayra. Here you're seeing that they made a clear distinction that mashkin is only metamakelim midirabanan. They made that distinction to let you know that. Aval nitmo machmas sheretz. But if a sheretz touches a keli, then it's nitmataychay, nitmagabi, nitmataychay. That's a tumah deraisa, and whatever side it touches, it's the whole keli is tamei. The Gemara spells it out. And if it would enter your mind to say, as we wanted to say before, that Rabbi Yehuda says lakol tamei, that if there's a doubt, even mashkin is metame kelim midiraisa, it's even a suffix deraisa is lechumra. Mali nitma machmas mashkin, mali nitma machmas sheretz. Why did he make a distinction if both of them are deraisa? Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda is not Rabbi Yehuda. We're discussing Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Lai. Oh, thank you. Thank you. We're discussing a student of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yehuda, and we have a contradiction in his words. Can liquids make a keli tamei midiraisa? We have a contradiction. One place says yes, one place says no. So comes along Rabbi Yehuda, a student of Shmuel. His name is Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yecheskel. He's a student of Shmuel, a student of Rab, student of Shmuel. He says, Chazer by Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Lai, Rabbi Yehuda that had the contradiction, he retracted from that first statement. And he doesn't really hold that it's deraisa. Really, it's deraban. That's an easy answer. It was Chazer by. Okay. Ravina Amar Lailam Laihadar. Really, Ravina tells us that no. Ravina is much later. He says that Rabbi Yehuda was not chayzer. So then how are you going to explain this contradiction? Haba mashkin habayin machmas yadayim. Haba mashkin habayin machmas sheret. So it's like this. How tamei is the mashkin? It depends. Mashkin, real tumah on mashkin, which means liquid that touched the sheretz, that's really tamei. That Rabbi Yehuda says will make kelim tamei, midiraisa. But what did we say before, that only the outside of the keli is tamei, not the inside? We wanted to show you that it's a derabanan. That's because those mashkin were not really tamei midiraisa anyway. How did those mashkin become tamei? Because he said like this: hands that aren't washed have a rule, but they have a rabbinic tumah, and it's called shniyos. They're considered a sheni l'tumah, second level status of tumah. Now, because you might have touched on the hands, so they put on this. No, it's just the din on the hands. It's just we don't know that you touched anything, but just because they could have touched something. So they're considered shniyos. Now we have a rule that anything that could make this has to do with truma, and that's why we wash our hands for bread. Because of this, they're shniyos. So it works like this. When it comes to washing our hands for food, so truma is usually Minatayr is usually grain, oil, or wine. So it turns out, for whatever reason, that we only wash our hands for the grain, not for the oil and the wine, because oil is normally not eaten regularly, and wine is usually held in a cup. The only thing that you're actually going to touch is the grain, and that's why we wash our hands for bread. Yeah, and they didn't explain this to me in first grade. They said you wash your hands. Go wash your hands. But okay, so. What are we saying here? We're saying that it depends how the liquid became tummy. If the liquid became tummy because hands are tummy, which is a din derabanan that hands are sheni latamashnias. Now the rule is that when sheni touches a liquid, there's a din derabanan also that it goes back, instead of being a shlishi, goes back to being a rishon. The liquid becomes a rishon. Okay, so all of this is all derabanan. So you told me you had a liquid that's a derabana, now it's going to make a keli tame. That whole concept is it's only if the whole tumma only started with this din derabanan, and then it's going to make the keli only tummy on the outside, not on the inside. But regularly, it would make it tummy entirely. So it answers the contradiction. Ihachi, the Gemara asks, it's not a good answer. Because adatani b'medvar mamurim. The word adatani means in place of or instead of. Instead of saying when does this apply, which is the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said that the outside of the keli is tummy, not the inside. So when it became wet when it became tummy because of mashkin. He didn't have to say that. He could have said it became wet to mashkin as opposed to becoming tummy from a sheret. So it says instead of saying that. When do we say that it's only tummy the outside, not the inside? If it became wet, if it became tummy from mashkin, let it divide the case itself in half and give you two polar halachas in the same case. Why do you have to say sheretz versus mashkin? Say mashkin versus mashkin. Depends which type of mashkin. Mashkin machmas yadayim, machmas sheretz. How did the mashkin become tummy? If you're trying to tell me a distinction in halacha, tell me in the case itself the detail. The better teretz is to say that Rabbi Yehuda retracted, and there's no such thing as mashkin being metame kelim min atayra. Okay, that was the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. We had other shittas there, but we'll get to that soon. Yeah, mashkin is not metame kelim min atayra. That's how we conclude here. Ibaylo, Gemara has a question. Mikelim hu da hadar bei ava beichlan karab yesiv Reb Shimon tzvira la yedam alagamri hadar bei karab meya. How much did Rabbi Yehuda retract? Go back to that Mishnah, that Brisa. Reb Meir held that it can't be metame anything. Liquid can't be metame anything, minatayra. Rabbi Yosef, Reb Shimon held that it's metame food, minatayra. And Rabbi Yehuda over there held that it's metame even kalim. So now we say Rabbi Yehuda retracted. So who did he retract to? So tummy water can't be metame kalim. What does it do to a person? I think a certain amount of tame makes paisalas like via. It's paisalas like via. A certain amount of it makes the person has a certain amount of tame. Now, how tame would be tame? That's the question. If it's mamish tame from a sheretz, then if he has a certain amount of it, it would make him tame. Even though normally water doesn't make a person tame. Yeah, but that would be rabbinic. Midaraisa, nothing. There's no midaraisa. Okay, so does Rabbi Yehuda retract that now it doesn't make kalim tamei midaraisa? Does he retract that it also doesn't make food tamei midaraisa? Or does he say no, food it still makes tamei? Does he hold like Reb Meir that it's tahar legamri, or does he hold like Reb Yossi and Reb Shimon that say no, there's a difference between food and kalim? You're right, kalim it doesn't make tummy, but food it still does. Amar Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, Tashima, come and listen. Parash Shasasa Mechatas. The cow drank the water from the paraduma. He left it out. When the cow started to drink, you're like, "Oy that's the water." You're supposed to sprinkle that on someone that was tummy. The cow came along and drank it. Now, the rule by the water of the paraduma is that it makes someone that's tummy tahar. Yeah. 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 So it's probably usually held as ashes. So it probably wouldn't be usually a problem. But you already mixed it into water. And now you want to use this, right? Probably not everything. You used however much you're supposed to take. I don't know. So you mixed it into water. And the cow drank it. Now the rule by the paraduma is that it makes, if something was tahar or someone was tahar, it makes it tameh. It has a strange, it makes tar, it makes tameh tar. You sprinkle on someone tameh, it becomes tar. But it also makes tahar tameh. So the Gemara says, Besara tameh, the cow becomes tameh. The flesh of the cow is tameh. Rabbi Yehuda says, again, we're looking over here to see if liquid can make food tummy. Does he hold midaraisa? Does he hold like Reb Meir, or does he hold which it can't, or does he hold like Reb Yossi and Shimon? And then we have a statement from Rabbi Yehuda here. This is Mamish going to tell us. He says Batlu b'meya. He says it's not considered water of a paradum anymore because he swallowed it, so therefore it doesn't make him tummy. It's bottle. It's bottle. It's not water anymore because he drank it. Now it's considered whatever. No, you sprinkle water on a person, so then if the person was tummy, he becomes. It dissolves, right? It gets absorbed, disappears. It's not considered. You're asking a good question. Taisus talks about what about in the mouth. Yassi's asking, what about before he digests it? Yeah, I didn't go through the Taisus, but Taisus mentions that. Okay. If we say that, yeah, he still holds like Rabbi Yossi and Reb Shimon that it should make food tummy. Liquid should make food tummy. Amai batla b'meya legamri. Why do you say that he's entirely tar? That's an interesting question. It's asking like this. It's not water of a paradum anymore. Granted, it's not water of a paradum. It's not chashiv of water. But it's still mashkin that touched water of a paradum. So this mashkin became tummy because it touched water of a paradum. It touched the ashes, it touched the water. So it should have a status of tumas mashkin. Forget about the paraduma. For that, it needs to be chashav of water to be part, but it still should be tumas mashkin. In regular fluid, that's tummy. So now the tummy water goes to the paraduma, and if we say that it makes that Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi Yossi and Reb Shimon that tummy water, that liquid, could make food tummy, then why does Rabbi Yehuda say that that this cow is tahar? It should be, the basar should be tummy. It touched the water. Forget about the paraduma. Granted, it's not paraduma water because it got dissolved, but it still should be at least water, just plain mashkin. That's tummy. No. They take the water that they get has to be very, perfectly pure. They have to go get it. They put on these platforms. There should be no tumah underneath. They have these children that ride on animals that aren't tameh. It's special. There's a whole process of getting the water. The water is perfectly pure. And when they're going to sprinkle it. No. Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. Yes, he's asking. Yes, he's asking that what we're doing is we're putting a status of Tuma on the water itself, as if the same way we put a status of the person that carries the water of the paraduma is the person that carries the water of the paraduma. It becomes Tameh, right? But Naisi, I say Chavas Bedad, someone that carries it has to wash his clothing, right? So we're also putting that status on the water itself. So that means the
By the way,
water.
Yossi and Yitzi are asking that question.
Okay. I don't know the answer. Let me leave that. I'm confused. Okay. So we seem to have a proof here that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold like Reb Meir because he doesn't hold. I'm sorry, he does hold like Reb Meir because he's saying that the water is not making the animal tummy. So the Gemara says like this: My batlu mebeya, nami batlu mitamachamura, avol tamakala mitama. Who said that it's? Who said that the basar is tahar entirely? He didn't say that it's tar. He just said batlu b'meya. So what does he mean? That it's not tamei midayraisa. It's not tamei midayraisa as I'm sorry, I shouldn't use the word. It's not tamei as tumachamura from paraduma, but it's tamei because of mashkin. He just said batlu b'meya because of that. He didn't say that it's totally. It's just batlu b'meya because of the tumachamura. Because of tumachamura is referring to paraduma tuma that it would give up. Okay, the Gemara says, Michlal, if you're going to do that, what happens is when you have, I have a Tanakama that says Besara Tame. I have Rabbi Yehuda that said, that I thought he said Besara Tahar. That's what I thought he said. But it turns out that he didn't really say that. He just said that it's not Tar Tamachamura, but it's Tame Tamakala. So now what that means is that Tamakala means that it's a lower level Tama, that it could make food, other food Tame. But it's not a higher level tuma of a para, the water of a paraduma. That's a higher level tuma. It's technically tame, yeah. But if I raise the level of Rabbi Yehuda, then the people that were arguing, the Tanakama that were arguing with him, are even more strict. So what is this going to tell me? Michlal, the Tanakama savar to mechmur nami metamu. That means the Tanakama say that it's a real strong tuma. What is a real strong tuma going to be? But it didn't say that it's that tummy that it can give off tuma. It just said besara tummy. Now, I don't know why. Usually tummy means that it's going to give off the tummy as well. But for some reason, the Gemara understands that it's just tummy and not that it's going to make anything else tummy. So because of this issue, that when we raise the standard of Rabbi Yehuda, we raise his level. That means we have to raise the Tanakama. And we don't see that in the Tanakama. So the Gemara now says, rather, Kula Rabbi Yehuda b'chser mechzer v'achik. You have to say that there is no Tanakama here. The whole statement is all Rabbi Yehuda. And it goes like this. If a cow drinks the water of a paraduma, the flesh becomes tummy. What type of tuma? Tumakala, mashkin. Aval tumachamura light, but not paraduma tuma. Rabbi Yehuda, I'm rebuttal me because Rabbi says the paraduma aspect is bottle. Changes the whole story. Okay. Ravashi Amar Le'olam. Ravashi says Le'olam bottle me alagamri mishum davli mashkasiro. Ravashi is the way we sort of read this at the beginning, before we got into these details. Ravashi says Batul Maya means that it's entirely Batul Maya. There is no liquid here. It's totally absorbed in the body. It's mashkas seruach. It's not considered mashkin anymore. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. There's no mashkin. There's no paraduma. There's nothing. That's a different way of learning this. And if that's the case, according to Ravashi, we're going to have no proof regarding mashkin being matama oichel or not, because this wasn't mashkin. Okay. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Shimon Imrim, it is really supposed to state over here, Amar Mar. In my Gemara on the side, it says, this is an Amar Mar. We're going back to discuss the other opinions that were in that brisa, which is Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon, which we mentioned in passing, that they held that there's a difference between liquid that touches food to liquid that touches kalim. Liquid that touches food is matame minatayra, liquid that touches kalim is not. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon Imrim, lo eichlin tmeim a kalim tayra. They hold that liquid could be matame food, liquid cannot be matame kalim. Amar Rabba Bar Bar Chana, Amar Reish Lakish. Wow. Rabba Bar Bar Chana says the name of Reish Lakish. Usually he says the name of Rabbi Yechon. Now he's saying in the name of Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yossi Beshitas Rabbi Kiva Rabbi Amra. Rabbi Yossi is following Rabbi Akiva, his teacher. Notice Rabbi Akiva made a statement, and Rabbi Yossi is following the way that Rabbi Akiva's statement works. He's Rabba Bar Bar Chana saying in the name of Reish Lakish that Rabbi Yossi way back is saying a statement that follows the pattern of a statement of Rabbi Akiva. And we'll see what Rabbi Akiva said, we'll see what Rabbi Yossi says. And tomorrow we're going to learn that just because he says that doesn't mean he holds like Rabbi Akiva, and it doesn't mean Rabbi Akiva holds like Rabbi Yossi. It's just in the same style, the same pattern. Okay. The Darish that he taught Yitma Yitama. We'll see in the pasuk. We'll see in a moment that when the pasuk says it becomes tummy, it actually means that it makes tummy. Let's see what the pasuk, what it says. Ditanan, stored in the Mishnah. I read it. The Darish Yitma Yitama. Yeah, Yitma means that it becomes tummy, and Yitama means that it makes tummy. It's right. Yitma. It becomes tummy. As it's passive versus active. Yitam is that it's going to give over something else. Okay, the Tanan was taught in the Mishnah. Boy Bayim Darash Rabbi Akiva, and that day Rabbi Akiva taught. What day is Boy Bayim? Boy Bayim is the day that Rabbi Gamliel was. They took Rabbi Akiva out of the yeshiva, Rabbi Gamliel out of the yeshiva, and they instead put in Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. That's the famous Boy Bayim. The whole yeshiva. Oh, because he argued with, he insulted Rabbi Yeshua 3 times. Not because of a cherem. That was something else where Rabbi Eliezer was punishing him. Here, it was, he insulted Rabbi Yeshua 3 times. Remember, by Myra, he had told them to remain standing until the end of the drush, and they said, we've had enough. They got rid of Rabbi Gamliel, and they put in Rabbi Elazar. They wanted to put Rabbi Yeshua, they can't put in Rabbi Yeshua. He was the one they were arguing. They couldn't put in Rabbi Akiva, he's Ben Gerim. They put in Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who comes from Ezra, and he was also wealthy, I think. And that's when Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, I'm like 70 years old. He just took the job. Okay, so on that day, they had all these new yeshiva students there, and everything every question got resolved. It was a whole to do. So, big thing. So, Darash Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva taught, V'chol kli cheres asher yipol mehem. The pasuk actually says, any earthenware vessel that falls into it, el toichei, the pasuk continues, kol asher b'soicha yitma, yipol mehem, that will fall. Kol kli cheres asher yipol mehem. Oh, that will fall into it. Kol asher b'soicha yitma. Anything that's inside it will become tamei. Va'isi tishbayru. And in the vessel you should break. That's the pasuk. So the vessel contaminates anything that's in its airspace. Einay omer tamei. It doesn't say that it becomes contaminated, it becomes tamei. Ala yitma. It says it becomes. It doesn't say tamei that it is tamei. It says it becomes tamei, which is a that's called a future tense. It's like a present tense, a continuous present tense. That's yitma. Sort of like it becomes tummy. So what is it? The fact that it has that extra yud on it tells me that I could read it also differently, and I could read it yitame acherim, not just yitma that it becomes tummy, but it's yitame. It will also make tummy. Limit al kikar sheni she'isa shlishi b'chulin. This teaches us that a loaf of bread that was in that vessel, the vessel becomes a rishon. Sheretz was in the vessel. Okay, the sheretz is avatam. The vessel and the airspace. The vessel becomes a rishon. The bread that goes into that gets tuma from the airspace from the vessel, becomes a sheni. Now yitma, that food can now make a shlishi. Okay, that's what Rabbi Kiva says. Now Rashi has the. I'm sorry. Yeah, we know that. We know that. It's not so pashut. We know it from here, by the way. This is the source. So that a sheni makes a shlishi even by chulin. Now we're going to see shortly that if you notice in the language over here, limit al kikar sheni, a loaf of bread doesn't. It says that's a sheni makes a shlishi, but what material? What item is the shlishi? It doesn't say kikar. We're going to see soon that it's actually mashkin, that it can make a liquid tummy. We're going to say that food can't make food tummy, but food can make a liquid tummy, and then vice versa possibly. So what we're learning here. I guess the bread touches water, touches liquid. The bread touches liquid, and it becomes tummy. So Rashi goes through a little bit of a discussion here, this limit al kikasheni, this Rashi, and he explains that you shouldn't say that the bread is a rishon. Look, the keli becomes, you don't say that the keli in the airspace all become a rishon and anything in the airspace becomes a rishon. You don't say that. You say that what you put into the keli is getting tumah off the keli and it becomes a sheni. Okay, that's what we're saying. That was what we just said was Rabbi Akiva's lima. What does Rabbi Yossi say? Rabbi Yossi follows his limit. He says like this. There's a pasuk. I think it's the next pasuk right after that. It says, "V'chol mashkin asher yishasa," and all liquid that could be drunk. V'chol keli yitma, in any vessel, it becomes tamei. And that means that whether it's food that's in the vessel or liquid that's in the vessel becomes tamei. Now, when it says yitma, that liquid becomes tamei. Didn't say tamei. It says yitma. Yitma l'tamei tamasaychlin. That means that it's tamei enough to make food tamei. So the Gemara says like this. One second. What did you just say? You just said that liquid can make food tamei. Based on any liquid that's in the vessel, yitma becomes tamei, and we could read it yitame that it could make something else tamei. What else does it make tamei? You said food, and that would be the opinion of Rabbi Yossi that liquid could make food tamei. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon learn like this. How do you know that it makes food tamei? Maybe it can make other liquid tamei. The Gemara says, "Amrit leikachaya." Say that's not how it goes. Doesn't really explain. My leikachaya. What does it mean? That's not how it goes. Amar of Papa leimatzinu tuma shaisa kiyetziba. We don't find that tuma makes the same thing tamei. That means that food can't make other food tamei. Food can make liquid tamei. Yeah, that's what. But it's more than that. Not just that it goes lower, but that food doesn't make food. It can't make its own type. So food can make liquid, or liquid can make food. Ravin, I'm sorry, yes. Oh, Ravina Amr Migufa de Kranami le Matzasamrit. Yitma letami tumas mashkin. Ravina says even if you look at the pasuk itself, you can't say that. Not because of that rule from somewhere else. If what you want to say, if we would follow through with that when it says that any liquid that's there can make other liquid tummy, if we'd follow through with that thought, then yitma the reisha nami latami tumas mashkin. So then what did we say in the reisha? That means the first pasuk. What did Rabbi Akiva himself say? He said, That food could make other things tummy. What are the other things that it could make tummy? It can't make other food tummy. It could make liquid tummy. Now, what could the liquid make tummy? If it's not going to make food tummy, what's going to make? It's going to make liquid tummy. So both yitmas would be making liquid tummy. So narvina v'nechtavino. So mix them together. Let the pasuk mix them together. Mayim. Any food, asher yavalav mayim means that it was mukhshel kabel tama. You have to add that in, that it became wet at one point. B'chol mashka sheyishase, we didn't say any halacha yet, or any liquid. B'chol keli yitma would become tummy. You can leave out the yitma from before and put the yitma at the end, and it's all one pasuk for both. Trey yitma lamali. Why does it have to say yitma twice? Ela yitma the reisha l'tami tumas mashkin. The reisha, that means the first pasuk was when food became tummy. That means that it could make liquid tamei, and yitma the seifa l'tami tumaseichlan. And the seifa, which is liquid, becoming tamei, not that it makes other liquid, but it makes food tamei. Liquid makes food, food makes liquid. And that's why we're twice yitma. Ve'ima l'tami asakelim. So it depends on which level it is. Depends which level. If it's a rishon, a sheni can make a shlishi. Yeah. If the food was a rishon, but that wasn't our case. Our case, the food was a sheni. Why? We have two items that fell into the keli, into the klicheres. One was food and one was mashkin. The mashkin says by the food it said yitma, it could be matama mashkin, and by the mashkin it says yitma, it couldn't be matama food. So if that then touches, if the mashkin that touched food, the mashkin was a sheni. It touches the food, it becomes a shlishi. By chulin, a shlishi can't make a revi, so it can't go further. Yes, true. If it would be, yeah, it would be by truma there's a shlishi, and by kachin there's okay. Okay. Where are we holding? Okay. Be'ema l'tami asa kalim. Say that it's coming to make. Say that it can make kalim tami. In other words, Rabbi Yossi is saying that mashkin can make food tami. We had an opinion before of Rabbi Yehuda, which Rabbi Yehuda himself was chayzen. But going back to the sources, let's say that when it says yitma, it means that it could be matama not only food, but it could be matama kalim also. That's going to be the rest of our discussion today. This thought. The Gemara says, "V'lat kal v'chaymu." You can't say that. It can't be matama kalim. Ma keli shematama mashkin. If a keli itself that could make liquid tummy, which we just said, liquid falls into a kli cheres, the liquid becomes tummy. Ein matama keli. But what's the rule if kalim fall into a kli cheres that's tummy? Kalim don't become tummy in bavir kli cheres. Only food does. So if kalim can't make kalim tummy, so mashkin haboy machmas keli. How did the liquid become tummy? It only came tummy because it was in a keli. So in addition tama kalim, how could it make kalim tummy? The keli couldn't make kalim tummy. This is only an offshoot of the keli. It can't be stronger than the keli. So the Gemara says, 1 second, okay. On that point, you have a point. But let's see, it's not 100%. You're right if the liquid became tummy because of a keli. But let's say liquid that became tummy from a sheretz. Maybe that should be able to make a keli tummy. The Gemara says, does it say in the pasuk? It doesn't say that in the pasuk anyway. That liquid becomes tummy or makes tummy. That it doesn't say anything about liquid that becomes tummy from a sheretz. It only says liquid that becomes tummy because of a keli. That's the whole source. But I know that because liquid could become tummy because of a keli, I know that liquid could become tummy because of a sheretz, but it's from the source of becoming tummy because of a keli. So it says, "V'lav mikal v'chaymer kasi uma mashkin aboy mach maskeli mitamen mashkin aboy mach masheretz lekolskin." In the whole way we learned that liquid that's tummy from a sheretz, we learned that from a kal v'chaymer. That if liquid that was in a keli could make tummy, so liquid that touched the sheretz for sure should become tummy, should be able to make tummy. But that was a kal v'chaymer. Now we have a rule by a kal v'chaymer that you can never go any stronger than the source that you started. And dial of amanadinli is kanidin. Now, what's the kal v'chaymer? That if liquid that was in a keli can make something else tummy, so too the kal v'chaymer liquid that touches a sheretz should be able to make something else tummy. What's my source? Liquid that was in a keli. What did you say about liquid that it was in a keli? That it can't make a keli tummy because the keli itself couldn't have made make another keli tummy. So therefore, it's enough to learn in the kal v'chaymer that liquid that became tummy from a sheretz also could not be able to make a keli tummy. Okay, now the Gemara says Yitma Deresha Hechi Darish. How did Rabbi Kiva learn Yitma of Deresha? We said that it becomes tamei, but it doesn't say the word tamei. It says the word yitma, and yitma means that it can also, or it could be read yitame, could be read yitame. That means that it makes something else tamei also. What is the other thing that it makes tamei? Liquid. Maybe the food that Rabbi Kiva was talking about that becomes tamei could also make a keli tamei. Amrit kal v'chaymer. We say no, it's a kal v'chaymer. If liquid can make food tamei, ain't a metame keli, but liquid can't make a keli tamei. How do we know that? We just said right before that liquid can't make a keli tamei. Why can't it make a keli tamei? Because it comes from a keli, and the keli couldn't make a keli tamei. So if liquid can't make a keli tamei, but liquid could make food tamei, oichel shein metame oichel, food that can't make other food tamei, ain't a din shlayit makeli, then obviously it can't make a keli tamei. If liquid that could make food tamei can't make a keli tamei, food that cannot make food tamei for sure can't make a keli tamei. Hamani makayim yitma. So then what are you going to do with the word yitma if it can't make something else tamei? L'tamei samashkin. That food can make liquid tamei. Shein alulam makabel tuma. These words that it just added in were quite unnecessary. It just what does it have to say? I have an extra word. It's going to teach me that food can make liquid tummy. The Gemara says, "My area mashke mishum dalulam lekabel tuma tepikoi mishum dalekami dachrina." Why did you have to give me a reason? You don't have any other choice. Alulam means that it's prone to become tummy. Food can make mashkin tummy, can make liquid tummy because liquid is prone to become tummy. Alulam, it's like probable, or it's common for it to become tummy. Why do you have to add that in? You didn't have anything else. If food can't make other food tummy, you told me that Rav Papa said food can't make food. It can't make a keli. You told me there's a kal v'chaymer. So what do you have left? The only thing that can make tummy is liquid. So the Gemara says hachi kamar. This is what it means. You could have thought like this. You could have said liquid doesn't make a keli tummy because liquid has a certain level of tummy, but food that could make liquid tummy, maybe how does food make liquid tummy? Because food has become such a strong level of tummy. That's why it can make liquid tummy. So maybe food could also make a keli tummy. If it's able to make liquid, why does food make liquid tummy? Because it's so strong. The tummy is so strong. I could have thought that. No, it's not that food is so strong and that's why it makes liquid tummy. Food is not so strong. Why does food make liquid tummy? Because liquid is so weak. Because, well, we're not saying weak, but we're saying liquid is prone to be mekabel tumah. So liquid always becomes tummy. Where are you saying a review? Oh, no. I Yes, according to this, it would be food liquid. Okay. Umay alilasan. What does it mean alilasan? That it's prone to be makabel tama. It becomes tame even without it becoming wet, because it's always wet, or maybe not. But food needs to get wet. It needs to be made susceptible. It needs to be prepared to be makabel tama. But liquid doesn't need to be prepared. It always is. That's why it's a little. I don't know if liquid is wet. I know other things get wet. I don't know if liquid is wet. It's water wet. So Yitma, the Ein Isaac Yetzibah, the pasuk says Yitma, the Ein Isaac Yetzibah, Mehacha Nafka. Mehacha Nafka, Mehasam Nafka. We learned, what are we learning over here? We have to throw in a little bit of like unspecified logic over here. What we're saying is that the pasuk didn't actually say Yitama the way we're trying to read it. It didn't say that. It didn't say it. It said Yitma. That's the way you read it. Yitma means it becomes Tame. Yitama means it will make Tame. So the fact that it doesn't say Yitama and it says Yitma, that limits what it could make Tame. Now, what is the limitation? That the food cannot make food Tame. That's the way the Gemara is understanding it. The Gemara says Yitma de'nes Yetzibah mehacha nafka. Is that what you're learning from Yitma? That it doesn't make other food Tame? Mehasam nafka. I learned it from somewhere else. Later on, it says v'chiyutan mayim al zeref. Water will fall on grain. V'nafal min devlasam alav. And then from the carcass will fall onto the grain that's already susceptible to become Tame. Tamehu. It becomes Tame, which means the grain becomes Tame. Hu Tame ve'ein Isaac Tumak Yetzibah. The grain becomes Tame, but it can't make other grain Tame. So I know it from a different source. The Gemara answers, Chad b'mashkin abai machmas sheretz, v'chad b'mashkin abai machmas keli. Depends. Over there, it was becoming Tame, or the liquid. I was saying mashkin, should be talking about eichel as well. Right. Gali ba'eichel v'uedin l'mashkin, Rashi says. Okay, mashkin abai machmas keli. We're talking about liquid that was in an earthenware vessel that became tummy because of us inside, but there's also another type of liquid that touched the sheretz, which is also tummy. And it has to tell me that both of them can't make another liquid tummy, it can only make food tummy. It's richa, and it's necessary to say both of these mashkin. The ashmin mashkin abai machmas keli, if it would just tell me the weaker one, the one that became tummy from a keli, mishum d'lechamir, well, it became tummy from a keli. But if it touched the sheretz itself, maybe that mashkin can make other mashkin. But as the Gemara asks, so do it the other way. You make a kal v'chomer. Say only one. Say the stricter one, and it doesn't work. Say mashkin b'machmas sheretz, it doesn't work. So for sure, mashkin b'machmas keli, for sure, liquid that touched the vessel isn't going to work. The Gemara says, you're right. That would have been a kal v'chomer. However, milsa dasi b'kal v'chomer tarch b'kasav l'kra. Many times, even though I could have learned it with a kal v'chomer, the pasuk spells it out. It's a machlekes. But sometimes this is what we're saying here. Milsa dasi b'kal v'chomer. Even though you could have learned it logically, the pasuk spells it out. Okay, let's leave this over here.
Thank you very much.
Good day, everyone.